So today I'll be talking about going beyond MFA and adopting phishing-resistant passwordless authentication. I'll go through our journey at IFCO, how we managed to do this, and share some of our lessons learned. Yeah, so a bit about me. I'm leading the security engineering discipline at IFCO Systems, and I've been doing cybersecurity for 8+ years, both in IT and OT. My current role, I'm leading our incident response efforts, cloud security initiatives, IAM, and now we are also building out our OT security program. And before this, I was working with Thales, where I was focused on the railway sector. So did a lot of work with critical infrastructure, Deutsche Bahn, other European railway companies. And in that area, there was a lot of emphasis also on OT. So I'm working for IFCO, and what is IFCO? IFCO is a pooling service where we are making these reusable plastic containers. Our objective is to make this grocery supply chain more sustainable. We want to remove single-use plastic containers, cartons. We want to improve food quality, and this is quite critical. We work with the big names in retail. We are the leading company here. Most people wouldn't know this company, but the next time you go to Reve or you are in Walmart or Aldi, just go in the grocery section, look at the crates. We are doing this. So there's quite a lot of dependency. Grocery supply chain, this is a critical, essential service. And if our systems are down and our watch centers, our facilities are down, and we are no longer able to serve our customers, consumers already feel the impact. So securing our business, securing our operations is quite critical. So we have this smart cycle where we ensure that the packaging is taken from the growers, packaged there at the farms, and then delivered to the customer. We are reducing food wastage because with these crates, you only handle the food items once. So this is what we do. It's quite a niche area, but very essential, and we are the world leaders in this in this area. Recently, we got acquired by venture capital at a valuation of close to 6 billion euros. So it's quite significant business. So the problem with passwords, identity is the new front line for security, and we talk a lot about different technology, different controls, but oftentimes we forget the basics. The basics is always human identity. This is critical for business. Human identity, customers, right? It's the foundation of your business. Who are your customers? Who are your employees? So identity is really the foundation. Doing incident response, and a lot of the incidents I see are related to identity breaches, right? And the study by Verizon in 2023 says that about half of all the incidents, breaches, are linked to compromised human identities, right? So this is quite critical. And in the past, it was enough to secure your network. If your network is secure, if your infrastructure is secure, you know that you are relatively safe. But with the way we work now, the boundary has shifted. The boundary is now in your users' phones. It's in their homes, right? So it's really important to take care of the basics. And passwords plus MFA combination is not enough. Foundationally, it's weak, and it relies on shared secrets. And just at its core, it's not secure. And phishing-resistant passwordless login is the next frontier in keeping identities secure. Like I said earlier, passwords rely on shared secrets, right? And if it's shared secret, if it's known by one party, it can easily be compromised. We've done something really good in the past years. We've introduced MFA, and this has helped quite a lot. But we've seen how easy it is to bypass this as well. We've seen SIM swap, we've seen MFA fatigue, we've seen social engineering attacks, attacker in the middle. And we know that users are, the primary weakness here. They would always, you can't rely on users not to click on links. Yeah, it's important to give them training and all that security awareness. But at the end of the day, the industry average for clicking on phishing links is 15%, right? And that's why it's significant. So if your user is going to click on phishing links 15% of the time, then you have an issue on your hand. If you are leading incident response, then this is quite a big issue because you have a lot to do, limited resources, and this takes a lot of time out of your day when you respond to these issues. It impacts ability of users to spend time working. We want to support businesses, right? So if users are always locked out because their accounts are compromised, it's a big issue. And of course, we can say, yeah, of course, if the accounts get compromised, we recover them, we reset the passwords. But the impact is huge when even an email being compromised and then your customer data is accessed, then you have to report to authorities, you have to notify customers. You don't want to do this, right? This is not the kind of attention you want to create. So passwords fundamentally are weak even with MFA. And this is quite costly also. If you check the statistics of the help desk tickets within your organization, we see that a significant amount of that is related to passwords being reset. Yeah. So I want to give you a quick overview of what a modern phishing looks like with adversary in the middle attack. So this is a very good image from Microsoft. And this is what a normal authentication flow should look like. The user requests wants to access a resource, and they validate their identity on the identity provider, and they are forwarded to with their token. They are able to access the resource they need. And now here comes an attacker in the middle, right? And what the attacker is doing is sitting in between this exchange, inserts himself, presents this layer to the user, and the user is, of course, communicating with the attacker. The attacker is relaying this to the identity provider, the legitimate identity provider, and by the time this transaction ends, the attacker has the token. The attacker can even redirect the user to the real resource, and everything looks good. It happens quite a lot. And this might sound complicated, but it's quite easy to implement, right? So I used a tool, an open source tool called EvilGenex to simulate this, and I was surprised by how easy it was. It took me 3 hours to deploy this, and I spent $6 to get the domain name, and that was it. I was able to implement this demo. And so this is a test environment I'm using. So this is this phishing page. It's exactly Microsoft, what the Microsoft login page would look like. Right? I tried this. This is obviously with a test tenant, not my corporate tenant. I tried this using IFCO accounts, and we had branding here as well. And with this tool, I was able to render the branding of my company very easily without much implementation out of the box, right? So the user is prompted to enter their passwords directly. So maybe users have different login options, passwords, phishing-resistant login. What the attacker is going to do is to prompt the user to use passwords and MFA, right? It's going to lead the user on. So even if you have phishing-resistant login, how are you implementing this? How are you enforcing this, right? Because the attacker is going to lead the user, to downgrade the user to use the weakest possible authentication available. So the user is prompted to enter their MFA. This is the MFA page. This is real, something I simulated, and everything looks legit, but there is an attacker behind the scene. So this is what you see in the back end. The attacker is able to capture the username, the password. You can see the MFA prompt is there, and at the end you have this token, And with this token, the attacker is able to maintain persistence. The attacker is able to register new MFA methods. The attacker is able to maintain access to your environment. So there is this analogy that you can build a house, have high walls, the thickest, biggest doors, and burglary-proof systems, and you can keep the key at the gate and maybe cover it with a stone. And a thief doesn't have to break into the house. They can just take the key and open the door. So they don't break in, they log in. It's quite easy. And this is the weakest link in our systems. Yeah. So I will invite you, if you have some spare time, it's quite fun doing this. Took me like 3 hours to set it up, and it's quite good, especially when you want to make the case for transitioning, right? It's quite good when you are able to show this. So the case for phishing-resistant login, there are key principles, yeah, that make this type of login systems phishing-resistant. So most of these login methods are based on FIDO2. So FIDO2 is an alliance that was established in 2012 by leading companies Microsoft, Google, PayPal, Lenovo, and the idea was to come up with a new model for authentication that is more secure than passwords, right? So these are the key principles. It's based on public key cryptography. There are no shared secrets. The user is able to retain their private key on the end user devices, and the public key is shared with the resource the user is accessing. So this is quite good. Then very important is that the secret key is bound to the device, right? So this is not something an attacker can easily steal or extract. A lot of times it's coupled to the hardware of the system, and there are tamper-proof mechanisms in place depending on the type of implementation it is. And very importantly, there is mutual authentication. What we see with standard password-based logins is that when a user is logging in the relying system, the IDP is validating the identity of the user. And now we rely on the user to validate the resource they are accessing to ensure that this is the right resource, right? We've seen that users are not really able to do that. And when you look at the simulation I showed earlier, it's quite difficult to do, especially in a very high intensity, high paced environment. Even for technical people, a well-targeted phishing attack will catch users off guard. Even the most vigilant users will fall for a well-crafted attack. So what mutual authentication does is that it binds the identity of the resource to the authenticator, whatever authentication mechanism you are using. During login, your authentication mechanism is able to validate that this is a real Microsoft website or this is a real Amazon website. This is quite essential, and the user experience is better. Who wants to remember passwords, right? I've had instances where I'm helping users out with an issue, and you ask them, oh, log in, and they tell you, okay, let me get my book, or let me open this file, or you are responding to an incident. You are trying to see what a system is compromised, an end user device, and you want to go through what the attacker might have accessed, and there's a password file on the system, right, that the users are. So users would always do what is easy, what is convenient. When you ask users to change their passwords every 6 months, they are going to write it down, right? You want to make the passwords long, and then they have to change it every 6 months. Makes no sense, right? So users would always do what is convenient, and this improves user experience. This reduces support tickets as well. So what options do you have when you want to implement passwordless login? There are hardware tokens, USB-based, NFC-based solutions, smart cards for enterprises. It's important to ensure that whatever solution you choose, that the principles highlighted in this slide are are enforced, right? That there is mutual authentication, there is user gesture, there is proximity check. It's really important to ensure that at the time of login, that this user is not someone doing this remotely. You have to have a way to verify that the user is physically present. Yeah. So these principles are what makes these methods phishing resistant. So hardware tokens, smart cards are good. If you are using smart cards, verify that it offers mutual authentication, right? It's not enough to say, oh, we have smart cards and it's based on public key cryptography. And yeah, ensure that it supports mutual authentication. We have native solutions. If you are in the Windows environment, I find Windows Hello for Business to be excellent. It's quite intuitive. Passkeys are coming on board and they are great. And it's supported by most of the identity providers, Entra, Okta, yeah, you name it, they support this solution. So these are the options. We often use passwordless and phishing-resistant login interchangeably. It's important to mention that even though phishing-resistant login is passwordless, they are not the same. You can have passwordless based on OTPs and PIN biometrics, but it's not phishing-resistant by nature. So if it's going to be phishing-resistant, ensure that it's based on the FIDO2 framework, or it's based on certificate-based authentication and all that. So here I'll be sharing very quickly some lessons learned in our migration strategy at IFCO. And I think it's important to start by assessing the environment, understanding where passwords are being used in your environment, where passwords can be replaced, key dependencies that exist in your environment. So this is quite important, an important step. And then make the case for transitioning to passwordless, right? Especially for my company, we are selling crates. We are not like Infineon or a technology company where everybody speaks technical language. Ultimately, when I want to push a security initiative, I always start with the money, right? Nobody cares about technology. They care about money. They care about business, right? And we have to be able to translate everything we've talked about into business impact. And this is a challenge for us, right? Especially if you're in an environment where people are not so technical. So security is essential. User experience is, it's key. And there are operational benefits as well for help desk. Also for me as an incident responder, if I can eliminate passwords, then I free up time, I free up resources to do things that are, more interesting. Yeah. And include demos. And this demo I showed earlier, I prepared it to present to the CFO when we're doing the business case, just to demonstrate, hey, this is how easy it is to bypass passwords plus MFA. So this is really important. Secure leadership endorsement early. And I'm fortunate that I work for a company where the CFO understands cyber risk, right, and very involved in key decisions. And this is important. Most times security folks are viewed as obstacles, bottlenecks, right? If you start from leadership, it really makes your journey easier. And before you start, update your policies and standards, right? A lot of what we are doing is flowing from our policies, standards. So make sure that that is aligned to your passwordless strategy. And that you can always reference that, right? Something that is signed by your senior leadership, and you can always point teams to that product team, say, this is what our standards say, this is the direction we are going, right? So preparing the groundwork is critical. Run pilot. When we did our pilot, we did it with a diverse selection of users, including senior leadership, including the CIO, right? And we were able to validate this with them, and it worked. And got the feedback, got the visibility. And during the adoption phase, the first set of people that I onboarded was the CFO, the CEO, and the COO, right? That's the starting point. So run the pilot, include senior leadership. I believe it has to flow from the top, especially in the type of environment where I work, right? It's critical. Define your target state. What are you going for? Do you want to have passwordless by default? That this is the default state for the users. That could be a good starting point. Do you want to have it mandatory? I think it's important to have it mandatory where possible, because users will always revert to what they know and not necessarily what is more convenient. You can say, oh, it's more user friendly. I'm an engineer, and a lot of times I know I can automate something with a script. It will take me 1 hour and save me 5 hours. Well, I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to spend 2 hours on doing it manually, right? Because it's a process. I know I don't have to learn something new. It's the same thing. So consider whether you want to make it passwordless by default or mandatory. I recommend doing it mandatory, enforcing it using conditional access policies. Embrace out-of-the-box solutions. So when you scan your environment, you could realize that you can already support passwordless today with the solutions available to you. For example, a lot of systems, laptops have Windows Hello for Business supported. If you have that, leverage it. There are a lot of vendors selling different solutions. If you already have a solution, don't buy something just because you want to embark on a project. Use what you already have. So Windows Hello, that was key. If users are logging in from mobile devices, consider passkeys, right, for mobile use cases. It works. Consider hardware tokens as well. YubiKey is one great example. We have tokens from Thales as well. Find what works, yeah, and design the right workflows. What's the onboarding going to look like? What's the offboarding going to look like? What's going to happen when the user loses their phone, when they lose their security key, when they are traveling and they have to quickly maybe access the system, they lose their laptop somewhere. Design these workflows. This is really key, because at the end of the day, we want to facilitate business. We want to help users. I want to help people to work. They don't care about security. They just want to work, right? So I want to facilitate this workflow and make it as seamless as possible. You want to drive adoption. I found this to be a really big change management initiative. We can speak all the technical language you want, but at the end of the day, this is change management. If you have a change management team within your organization, leverage that, bring them on board. If you have learning platforms, communications, bring all the stakeholders on board who can help you to drive change management, communication, drafts, user guides, sessions, whatever. Focus on high impact use cases, the most obvious use cases, and roll it out in phases across departments, across teams. This helps you to integrate feedback into the process. So the key takeaway here is that passwordless login is not a buzzword. It's not a nice to have. I've seen this in my experience. When you implement this, for the users who have this implemented, it works. It stops phishing on a technical level. And this has been our experience, right? If you're talking about zero trust, this is a good starting point, right? And the most secure password is no password at all. So thank you very much for your time. And if you've done this and you have insights to share, it would be really nice to also hear your story and how you went about this. Thank you.